So here's a little help on 338, 339 with systems of equations and graphing. So you basically have three choices with a system of equations. There's one solution, or no solutions, or they're all the solutions would be true. So first thing you want to remember is, and this is why we said, graph if needed. So if the slope is the same in both equations, that means the equations or the lines are parallel, and that means there are no solutions. Alright? If they are the same, if the equations end up being the same, that means you'll have all real numbers, or all real hashtags, will be the solutions. Now, if the slope is not the same, and they are not the same equation, there will be one solution. And then you have to figure out what that solution is. We'll take a couple of these, see if we can figure out some that would be each of those. We'll find one with the same slope, find one with that's the same equation, and we'll find one with one solution. If you look up here at this equation, that number 18, it sure looks like we have the same slope. Both equations are in y-intercept form. The number in front of x for both of them is 1. They have different y-intercepts. So they have the same slope. They cross y at different places. They are parallel lines. They will never cross. No solution for that one. Now if you look down here at 24, in the top one, if I divide everything by 2, I think I get x plus y equals 3. In the bottom one, if I divide everything by 5, I think I get x plus y equals 3. So that means all real numbers. So for 18, I don't need to graph because I know they're parallel. For 24, I don't need to graph because they are parallel. So what about a different one? Like, let's look at one that's clearly neither of those, number 17. Now 17 has y equals 4x plus 2 and y equals negative 2x minus 3. Now what you can do is you can graph both of those and see where they cross. Wherever they cross, that's the answer. Your other option, though, is to do this algebraically. Because if I know that y equals this and y equals this, what I can do is I can put 4x plus 2 equal to 2x minus 3. This is the way most people would do this problem, and we'll show you what happens. If I add 2x to both sides, I'm going to get 6x over here, and if I subtract 2 from each side, I'm going to get 6x equals negative 5. And I'm going to have x equals negative 5/6. Now, to find out y, I'd have to put or x back into one of the equations. And I think I'm going to use the bottom equation. So I'll have y equals negative 2 times negative 5/6 minus 3. Because now I know that these negatives will both cancel. This cancels. I'm going to have 5/3 minus 3. Now 5/3, I think that's 1 2/3. 1 2/3 minus 3. Let's see, I think that's 1 1/3, isn't it? Because that would be 1 2/3, 2 2/3, 3. So, negative 1 1/3. So now I know my answers. I have y and I have an x. So my answer would be negative 5/6 and negative 1 1/3. My x and my y. Now it's going to be a lot easier to do that here than to do it by graphing. It's going to be a hard thing to see on a graph. See if I can find one more like that. by the way, I did check that answer for number 17 is -5/6 and -4/3 or -1 1/3. If we look at number... let me decide which one I wanted to look at. Number 20. If I have x minus y, that one's this one right here, x minus y equals -2, that looks like it's going to be y equals x plus 2, if I did that right on the top one. And then on the other one I'll have y equals x plus 2. Uh-oh. Never mind, those look like the same equation. Well, Merry Christmas. There's another answer for you. Let's look at 21. That's probably the one I was looking at anyway. X plus 2y equals 3 and x equals 5. Okay. Now, if I, on the top equation here, nope, where's my pen? On this top equation right here, that one, get rid of those things. There we go. So on this equation right here, I know that if I move the x to the other side, I'm going to have a negative x over 2. And that does not have the same slope as the bottom one. X equals 5. If I remember correctly, x equals 5. That is probably an indeterminate slope, because x equals 5 is a line going straight up and down. It's a vertical line. So I know that the other one is not the same. So this one's pretty easy though. If I just take that 5 and put it, if I just take this 5, put it right in there for x, I'm going to get 5 plus 2y equals 3. So again, that's substitution. That's the next lesson coming up. And so, goodness, I think all I have to do is 2y equals, let's see, -5, -5, 2y equals -2, and divide each side by 2. I'm going to get a y of -1. And I know 5 is x, so my answer should be 5, -1 for number 21. There you go. So we'll look at another one in a little bit. Now here, same thing on 28 to 42. You just have to decide, do you need to graph or not? And, you know, if they're parallel, where'd my pen go? If you're parallel, you don't need to graph. And if they are the same equation, you don't need to graph, because you're going to have no solution and all real numbers. The only ones you have to worry about is if they are not parallel and if they are different equations. So let's check one here that is infinite. Here we go. Let's look at number 33. Make it a little bigger so we can see it. Number 33. So with number 33, I'm pretty sure that if I divide everything by 2, that'll be x, it's going to be a 4, and that's going to be a 3. So infinite solutions because they are the same equation. Alright, I did not want to do that. Let's see if we can find one where they are parallel. 37. Let's look at 37. It says that they are the same equation. Or not, I'm sorry, not same equation, they are parallel. And if I take a look at the bottom equation, if I would multiply everything times 3, I would get a 3y minus x, 3y minus x, and then equals 6. If we put those into the correct form, if I put both the x's on the other side, I would end up with a positive x and a -2, a positive 6, and then I could divide everything by 3 because of the y's, and they'll have a different y-intercept, but they are parallel. No solution. Alright, make that go back small again. And once more, there we go. And let's look at one with an actual solution. Let's look at number 41. 41 would be very similar to number 40. So here's 41. Then I got to talk about 42. Well, if I'm doing this, the first thing I'm going to do on the bottom equation is I am going to multiply everything times 5. So I'm going to end up with 2x plus y equals 3. And on the top it looks like I'm going to multiply everything times 6. So 5x, let's see, so that's that, times 6. I think that's going to be plus 4y. And let's see, times 6. That must be 3. There we go. So I can tell they're not the same equation. I can also tell that they do not have the same slope. They're not going to have the same slope. So I'm going to have to find a solution to this. I think with the top equation I can do y equals negative 2x plus 3. Okay, now I could leave the bottom equation as it is, and I could put 5x plus 4 times negative 2x plus 3 equals 3. So I'm just taking what I found y to be equal to, and I'm putting it right in there for y. 4 times negative 2x, and Chewy comes to visit. Hi Chewy, how you doing? And so I'm just going to have to do the distributive property here. 5x plus, actually minus 8x, 4 times 3 plus 12 equals 3. 5x minus 8x, that's negative 3x. If I move the 12 to the other side, I think that's going to be negative 9, which works pretty nicely. It tells me x equals 3. Alright, now that I know x equals 3, I can take my x, my 3, and I can put it right back in here, or the other one if you want. I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to get 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus some number equals 3. I think that's got to be a negative 3. My answer to this one should be 3, negative 3. There you go. Now again, if you really want to, you can graph those. If you really want to, you can graph them and see where they cross. And that's it, but I would not. Now, on number 42, you need to change this x. You can even write it in your book if you have it. Change your x to y and your y to x, because y represents the number of cameras sold, and x should be the number of years since 2000, because when you put this on a graph, time is always x, and so years since 2000, you'd say, well, 1 year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That'll take you up through 2010, 10 years since 2000. And over here on the y, I have, let's see, a 78.8 and a 10.9 for y-intercept. So I would do something like 80, 60, 40, 20. And then that should help you be able to do that. But the book has the x and y wrong. So there you go. That's it.